With only 2 episodes left in the season of Lower Decks, what might the crew of the Cerritos be getting themselves into before the final? Let's see what we thought of the penultimate episode. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get right into it. Okay, first up, yes, I was wearing a Lower Decks t-shirt, but it's covered up currently, and secondly, we here at Trek Central in a brand new recording studio. As such, things may look and sound different. No, it's not because of my voice currently being bad. Either way, things may look a little bit janky today. Hold with us, we're currently setting things up, and do give us some recommendations for the shelves. I really would like to see some more nerd stuff behind me. Anyway, let's get into a review. Of course, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can follow us on social media for more updates on the Star Trek universe. Let's go. This episode of Star Trek Lower Decks is titled wej Duj, written by Catherine Lin and directed by Bob Suarez. The title may sound like gibberish, but is in fact Klingon, standing for 3 ships. The title is even written in Klingon script, which is amazing. Now, Boimler tries to find a bridge buddy while the USS Cerritos crew has downtime during a long warp trip. What might the other lower deckers on the other ships be doing? Let's find out. So that's what the title means. While the USS Cerritos is just travelling to do a planetary survey, we pop into 2 other ships, a Klingon and a Vulcan starship. Before we do get into the breakdown of today's episode, I have to say, Lower Decks is doing things which only a show like Lower Decks could do, giving us a look at the personal lives of other crews on non-Starfleet starships, while being a show about a Starfleet ship and its crew. Animation allows us to get these one-off ship sets and characters, though hopefully some will come back to tell more stories, whereas in live action, the cost of doing so might not be worth it. Anyway, before we get into the other ships, let's look at the USS Cerritos. It's an interesting episode where the Cerritos really isn't doing much for a lot of the episode, and simply is warping to do a planetary survey, very second contact. As such, most of the crew are given some leave from duties for some R&R. Given the events of Season 2, well deserved I'd say. All of our lower deckers are off doing stuff with their senior staff, from Tendi climbing the Yosmite of Dr. Nana, something that Kirk was known to do, with Boimler even following them later on in Spock-style jet boots. Boimler even has Kirk's Go Climb a Rock t-shirt. Rutherford is trying out a new soup recipe Billups has made, what a stud Billups is apparently, making new soup recipes. And also, Rutherford is doing pottery with Shax, in a nice scene where we find out that pottery is some kind of therapy for Shax, a creative outlet for his rage. We would love to do some pottery with Shax, wouldn't we? I mean, come on. And as expected, Marinus teamed up with her mum, Captain Freeman, having some mother-daughter time during this period of transit. We do some interesting things together like combat training, but also a Federation version of Clue, the board game. I have to say, they should put out a Star Trek version of Clue, that would actually be really fun. Anyway, so Boimler's plot for this episode is to find a bridge buddy he can socialise with. He eventually finds the Commander Ransom, and 2 other crew members who all claim they come from Hawaii, but it turns out they all lied to be able to hang out together, even Ransom, who only claimed he did due to a previous commander who did actually come from Hawaii, so in fact they're all lying. I wasn't that big of a fan of this subplot. Boimler lying about his place of origin to fit in wasn't really that interesting, but it was a nice subverse however, given they all lied about it, but it wasn't that interesting at the end of the day. I will say however, I liked how it ended, but we'll get into that later. What really puts this episode above the rest is the other plots we follow, experiencing the Lower Decks experiences on other starships. Let's first start with a Vulcan ship, the Cheval, which is a new type of Vulcan starship, in a similar style to the Dakir type Vulcan vessel we have seen before in Star Trek, with the iconic Vulcan warp ring around the vessel, but updated to bring it into the 24th century. Being on a Vulcan ship is as boring as you would expect, with very little emotion and it's just sticking to your assigned projects. But we meet one Vulcan known as T'Lyn. T'Lyn definitely feels like a part of Vulcan, like Spock, doing illogical things out of the purview of her assignment, but in doing so finds an anomalous source of metron particles which will be important later. The Vulcan captain lambasts T'Lyn for doing things that she feels is right, and even though he agrees to follow up on an anomalous reading, gets T'Lyn to do the meditate to get her emotional control back. Though instead of this, she just gets to work on another one of her projects. Now let's talk about the Cheetah, a Klingon bird of prey and the lower deckers on board. I have to say, I love the red in these Klingon uniforms, but the best thing is that these lower decks also sleep in corridors, though instead of dedicated bunks, they are sleeping in hammocks, of course they are. And we also see a Klingon only wearing a towel, just like on the Cerritos. Though to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if birds of prey didn't have any showers, but I guess even the Klingon still needs something for hygiene apparently. We even get a taste of some of the tasks Klingon lower deckers have to do, like cleaning the bowels of Gag, moving dead bodies, or walking the captain's targ. But to be honest, the last one seems pretty fun. especially with a Targ who is very cute in this episode. The captain of the Cheetah, Dorg, kills his first officer, who claims that the captain is dishonorable. In the captain's ready room, we get some Klingon opera as Dorg is angry with what the Empire has become. Klingon villains like Takuvma from Discovery and General Chang from the undiscovered country, who both wish to remain Klingon by going to war with the Federation. And we find in this episode that the puppet master of Pakleds is Dorg himself. I can definitely say I didn't expect to see that coming, but I do really enjoy it. We know that this captain wants war to break out, for the Klingon Empire to become great again, and it definitely shows us that Dorg himself is not an honourable Klingon, by getting the Pakleds to start this war on his behalf, something pointed out by the lower decker, Ark. So now we have covered the individual ships, let's get to the main event. Due to the Pakleds detonating their Veruvian bomb to test it out, which is actually great, I love that they detonated the bomb to see if it works, not realising you can only use it once. Anyway, this detonation gives out a reading of Metron particles, which are the same ones picked up by the Vulcan starship and now the Cerritos as well, who also goes to investigate. The Cerritos finds the Cheetah and Pakled clump ship, Pakled, and get attacked, but are saved by the arrival of the Vulcan ship, Shala. The battle sequences in this episode are amazing, and I absolutely enjoyed it. When it all came to wej Duj, all three ships came together in this fight. To Lynn's research, a regenerative shield amplifier gets employed on the Vulcan ship, and they are able to hold their own against the bird of prey and the clump ship. Ark challenges Dorg and defeats him. Even Dorg's Targ turns on him, very dishonourable. Ark becomes captain of the Klingon starship and leaves the battle, returning back to the Klingon homeworld of Kronos. As the Cheval and Cerritos group up and attack the clump ship, they manage to very much defeat it, and cause the ship to flee. Meanwhile, back on the Vulcan ship, T'Lyn is going to be reassigned to a Starfleet vessel. Just from this single episode, I have really enjoyed the character of T'Lyn, so if we are to see more of this character, I fully welcome it. I wonder if she'll get assigned to the Cerritos. Would that work for the dynamic, or might she be on another ship and have run-ins with the Cerritos crew? Who is to say? So apparently there are a group of acting ensigns on the Cerritos, and Ransom actually helps out Boimler and gets him to look up to Boimler for help and inspiration. Gotta say, I really love Ransom doing this to Boimler, their sort of dynamic, really cool. And before the episode finishes, we get one more Lower Decks crew, and that is on Borg Cube 90182. Really, this episode should have been called wej Duj, but we won't fault it for that, nor my Klingon pronunciation. Having the ending title sequence of the episode just being chilling with Borg Lower Deckers is amazing, and has made me completely fall in love with the show. This episode was amazing, and I think it can be considered probably one of the best episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks so far. It used its position in the medium of animation to absolutely brilliant effect with non-conventional Lower Decks storyline, which absolutely paid off. The decision to follow other ships and have all the stories come together at the end was superb. I do feel like we didn't wrap up the Pakled story though. Even though the puppet master has been defeated, the puppet still is at a loss. What happens when the strings are cut is probably what we're going to be seeing in the next episode. Hopefully we get to see some of the dialogue between the Klingon Empire and the Federation about this turn of events, but it could be complete Lower Decks fashion to just not show us and kind of ignore it. Though perhaps it could link into the state of affairs in Star Trek Picard. Really, we're going to have to wait and see. We know that next week we'll have the long-awaited appearance of Cetaean Ops, so we're definitely looking forward to that and how it might appear in the story. But that's our review and breakdown of Lower Decks Episode 9 of Season 2, wej Duj. What did you think of this episode and my Klingon pronunciation? Let us know in the comments section below. Because as usual, if you're talking Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Of course, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Trek Central. You can follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper my friends, goodbye.